Hello everyone, welcome to the live webinar on Oxloo Group, where we are going to discuss about how we are building a blockchain for a billion population. First of all, thank you so much for everyone who is watching this video, and thank you so much for joining. I am Akash Gaurav, CEO of Oxloo Group and founder of Oxloo, and today we are going to discuss about how blockchain has started impacting a lot of lives together. This technology is fairly new, but how this technology has evolved in such a short duration and has so many expectations with enterprises and individuals that people would want to build a lot of powerful applications. They are looking for a lot many transparent and efficient ways of doing things, which was never possible. Oxloo is one of the pioneer blockchain infrastructure that has came into and revolutionized the development of blockchain in the South Asian countries. Oxloo is an enterprise-grade blockchain infrastructure that aims to bring complete transparency in the supply chain, e-governance, finance, and insurance processes. Oxloo is today among the Indian subcontinent is being used live and has onboarded more than 53 million population and acting as a value chain for the Indian and the Indian subcontinent economy. Now, to give about that why and how we require more and more, or how we require another blockchain infrastructure, why Oxloo and what Oxloo is trying to achieve. So if we look over the trends of how blockchain is being utilized. So blockchain today is being utilized into a lot many forms and is being adopted by a lot of industries and enterprises, including some of the largest supply chain firms and some of the largest banking industry, as well as healthcare industry. If we go by the records, we see that finance industry sees that they can save over $1 trillion of money into their economy if they shift most of their business processes onto the blockchain. Healthcare executives see that a more better and a more efficient data management can be done, and 56% of them say that a more better treatment can happen if we move our research facility onto the blockchain. Supply chain ensures that a lot of counterfeit goods can be stopped, and a lot of money across the value chain can be saved from the counterfeiting and trustworthy data. That it's completely going to revolutionize this entire industry. Now, if we go and look after that, what actually these enterprises require, who are talking about building so many blockchain applications and relying upon the blockchain as a technology to build so many use cases. So today, if we see the requirements of today and a standard company, you can say, let's say Visa, it has a requirement of, say, high performance. By high performance, it doesn't mean that what's the transaction per second comes to be. It also means that what is the robustness and how much fault tolerant your system is. Does your system capable of managing different circumstances under different possibilities? A Visa system today can process more than 14,000 transactions per second. Can the blockchain system, if we implement, will be able to do the same, provide the same performance at that level? So that was about the high performance. Another thing which is very much crucial for any enterprises require is about the flexibility. So how your networks which you are deploying, or how the blockchain applications which you are creating is actually done in a very flexible environment. By flexibility, it means companies should be able to adopt to GDPR. Companies should be able to adopt to HIPAA compliances and a lot many other compliances and regulations which keeps coming in and which differs by different industries. And you must ensure that all these industries should be able to comply with these requirements. Now, GDPR and HIPAA are the two examples, but there are with different industries requirements that has been coming in. You must ensure that your technology infrastructure should come into the play and should ensure to give a flexible deployment. Third, which is very much again a very crucial information or a very crucial feature, is about the interoperability. Today we see over 10 billion APIs across the internet interchange information and thus able to make a successful internet which we as and how we see today. Today, the blockchains, how different companies are adopting, are they able to deploy different blockchain networks, and do the different blockchain networks able to communicate with each other? Because this is very crucial, this is very important for the overall development of this ecosystem. Now, if we go by the facts that today we take the most infrastructures that are in use, whether it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Hyperledger, we see the performance regarding you can say scalability, the performance regarding the flexibility, as well as the interoperability. It's somewhere it's not where the mark where enterprises would be completely able to adopt this. And it's kind of a sad. We have been working into the industry for 3 years, more than 3 years, and we still see that most of the projects onto the blockchain stay inside the lab and doesn't hit to the mainstream adoption. Now that's a problem. And the problem is not with the technology, or the problem is not with the application use case. The problem is that you need to evolve the infrastructure on which the application is getting developed. It's a platform. It's a base of what you are building upon. If the base is not capable of supporting an enterprise requirements, then the application use cases is going to be laid down and on the shelf of your lab and doesn't go to come out at the mainstream adoption. With all these possibilities in mind, we have created the Oxloo infrastructure, which caters to the requirement of not only high performance, but also caters to the requirement of flexibility, spoking and customization of the network, and as well as the interoperability and interchain communication, which is very crucial for today's deployment. So the Oxloo is an infrastructure suite which package together and provide developers, enterprises, large organizations, and governments an easy and effective means to deploy their own network and customize their network as per their compliance requirement. And then that compliance can suit to their business, as well as they will be able to communicate between different blockchain much better, in a much better position. This overall provides, and these features are the reason that the Oxloo is gaining so much popularity among the government and among the different requirements, and we are going faster than ever in the evolvement. We have just announced a month back the second version of Oxloo, which is going to be the game-changing and comes with an inbuilt of an enterprise public network. The enterprise public network was one of the major changes we did in the version 2. The reason being, we have realized that no blockchain will ever be able to evolve to its full potential when it is only limited to the private network. The trust factor has to come through the public network, and you must ensure that the public network is a part of all the private transactions in some form or another. So how Oxloo works is you deploy a multi-tier blockchain networks. So we are deploying a enterprise public network as the 0th tier implementation of Oxloo. On top of this public network, any enterprises can deploy their own network, do all the transactions they want. All those transactions data will not be going to reflected in the public network, but the Merkle proof of those data is going to be stored and saved inside the public network. This Merkle proof will ensure that tomorrow or whenever this particular entity wants to communicate with another entity who sits on the other side of the Oxloo infrastructure, Oxloo's public network, that is Oxnet, will be verifying each transaction through the Merkle proof. It already exists and will communicate that information in the decentralized manner. And that's how Oxloo is proposing to build a complete ecosystem of different parties and ensure that we are going to cover everything from the supply chain side to insurance side, the finance industry side, and the most importantly, e-governance side, to ensure that these applications are completely trust-free, but still they are leveraging the best of private network, and they are working with the low cost, they are working in a private and secure environment, and they are getting the full features and the trustworthiness of a public blockchain network. So this is what make Oxloo a very unique, because it's not just a public network and it's not just a private network infrastructure. It enables its user to deploy a hybrid blockchain network. And that's where the best of blockchain comes out to be, where you get the amalgam from these networks. Then on the last side, I will talk about the self-governing economy system, because when it comes to the public network, it's very important that what is the economy model which is incentivizing the public to save and secure your network. We have introduced two native tokens in the Oxloo infrastructure, in the Oxloo ecosystem. One is Oxchips and another is Oxgas. Oxchips is a pre-mined fixed in supply token, which is going to provide administrative access to its holder. By administrative access, it means the holders will be able to mine new block, participate in the consensus process, as well as they will be able to do any governance and voting related rights. Additionally, Oxchips user will also be able to deploy their own private tiered network. They will be able to deploy their own decentralized applications on top of the public network, and they will be able to swift communication between two different deployed networks. However, there is a second token, that is Oxgas, which is, you can say, much similar to like gases in Ethereum. And these gases ensure that all the transaction fees, all the interchain communication fee, all the fee required for the deployment of storage and a contract is get covered by Oxgas. So Oxgas is a spendable token, which you will have to spend while doing any interchain transaction or the intrachain transaction on the public network, while Oxchips is a token which stays there with its user and provide him with the ability to make administrative access or provide administrative access in the Oxnet ecosystem. So with this means we have enabled our economy model in a very self-regulating manner. We have ensured that the tokens are distinctive to their use cases. It provides us not only from the point of view of the blockchain network, but also it provides a better flexibility in terms of the overall legislation and overall token controversy is what we save on. Because here we impact our users to ensure that the two tokens are completely distinctive, and the token which is going to be a part of the token crowd sale for the Oxloo is going to be an administrative token, is going to be a token which has a well-defined functionalities and a well-defined user base and how it can be increased in the value. It completely defines that how different networks and the deployment of different networks is linked with the Oxchips. And in the current process of generating and creating more and more user base, how Oxchips requirement will grow and how the economy will become more and more stronger. So I will say this is all in a nutshell about Oxloo. For those who are very much interested and want to learn more, I recommend them to go and see our Oxloo white paper. The Oxloo introductory paper covers a lot many new protocols which has introduced, as well as it introduced a couple of protocols that has been in the industry from a long time, and it has been evolved in such a manner to fit a requirement of not just a protocol, but to fit to a requirement of infrastructure. Because ultimately, a protocol is something which enables, while an infrastructure is something which builds. So that's how this entire ecosystem is being governed. Now I will open up for the questions and see what questions my users have and how we can help them understand more and more better. So looking at the comment section, we will try to find in some question. So here, Sanchita is asking, can you tell me how Oxloo is different from EOS? Thanks, Sanchita, for asking. We believe Oxloo is fairly different from EOS, the reason being in its different vision. EOS is trying to create an operating system for blockchain networks. It has their white paper and their overall model has very much focusing upon the virtual machine side as well as the high performance side. However, I see the lackings which actually these enterprises facing while deployment of blockchain is not only about the performance. Performance is just one issue of a lot of problems which they face. The major problem I see they face is into creating whether they should create a private network or whether they should create a public network. That's one dilemma, because they want to use a private network to get low fee and have more control over the data, while they want to use on the public network to ensure that they have a general public consensus. EOS provides a system where you deploy a software or deploy your D app onto their public network, while you will have to care all about the EOS tokens. Additionally, EOS doesn't provide flexibility in terms of the private network if you want to deploy. If you will fork the EOS code, you will have to change the code base of EOS to ensure that there is something you can do to fit into your requirement. However, Oxloo aims to provide that out of the packet. And that's how EOS vision is completely different, or maybe Oxloo vision is completely different from EOS, because Oxloo has been impacting more and more on the requirements and seeing the real live use cases that where the projects are getting failed and impacting on those points rather than more and more talking to do a better and more high performance virtual machine system. Yeah, so I have another question from Martin. He's saying, where do you see Oxloo in the coming year? So how we see Oxloo in the coming year is that it's going to be the third generation of blockchain network. So blockchain has been revolutionized. This entire fintech, cryptocurrency, and everything started in 2008 with how Bitcoin came in. Now, what Bitcoin allows people, it's the first time when actually you can interchange value among the internet. Before that, all you can interchange on the internet was data. Now you can also send and receive a value and an asset, and this revolutionized everything. Then how the more and more the blockchain came into the limelight and people started to realize its potential. In 2014-15, Ethereum came in, and Ethereum again revolutionized this entire industry. And the sole reason was that Ethereum provided a platform, and on that platform, developers can easily build application. And that was the single most important feature which lead Ethereum to grow so much in compared to all other platforms. We are seeing Oxloo is going to study. Oxloo has studied Ethereum more than anything. We have studied what are the reasons when sometime softwares and applications built on Ethereum get failed, why and how the DAO attack or any of these attacks are getting possible, and what we can do to stop it, how we can create an overall secure system, and what is the shortcomings in Ethereum, or rather than shortcomings, I will say that what are the value add-ons which can be done to Ethereum to ensure that the next generation, that is the enterprise, which uses 88% of the IT infrastructure, how they can use it. Ethereum has solved the problems of developers, but the problems of enterprises are still there. They are still not able to send blockchain to mainstream adoption. And with the third generation of blockchain infrastructure, Oxloo, this 88% of the users, the enterprise users, will be able to come online and come online on a blockchain network and will create a truly decentralized internet. So I see another application from Anushri. Although I understand how this can work for the global supply chain, what I don't understand is why it could be preferable to existing data tracking tool. Well, the question I couldn't understand completely, but I will try to answer in the form I understand. So how I understand this question is that you are very well aware of the global supply chain and how it works, but how the data tracking can happen. So it has two different elements. I will say that from the IT perspective, a global supply chain management and data process management is a completely two different things. How on the blockchain the data management can be done in a more effective manner is in multi-forms. You can enable with the Oxloo, you can enable, or with the blockchains, you can enable to use the free space of your hard drive and earn money out of it. That's something very revolutionary. Your mobile, that's maybe the most personal space in your life, and still in a secure way you can leverage the empty space to someone or to a network and get paid for something which you are not using. And that's something which is very fantastic. That's something which a sharing economy is trying to enable. And how we see the sharing economy is where the entire industry and the entire millennial trend is following. And that's how we see that the data standards and the data quality can be much improved with the blockchain. Another question from Kushal here is, hi Akash, do you feel blockchain technology in general can be applied offline, especially in a country like India, which has a lot of industries based offline? A very good question. It can be applied offline or it depends upon the definition of offline. Offline can mean and non-computer based, a non-networking based, or an offline can mean actually that you don't have an access to a public internet, but you have access to the public intranet. Now, the blockchain is more and more about sharing and being trust-free. If it's an offline system, like let's say for an Indian country, it can still be well utilized, but of course the networking power has to be there. Talking about India, we see that the networking trend is always on the upside. We are seeing that more villages and more cities are now connected more than ever. And that's not just the case with India. We take any other country as well who is into the developing zone, and we see that the development of digitalization is happening very, very fast, and it's a better potential for those countries who haven't hit by the digitalization stroke so far. They can directly take a leap forward and directly adopt to the blockchain technology, because that's how the technology can make things so much simple and so much efficient that you can directly take a leapfrog. And that's what we are targeting to do with our partnerships in the Southeast Asian countries and from the countries of Africa. That's what we are targeting on actually. So a question from Archit, how will you ensure transparency in hybrid network? Is there any other blockchain giving same services? So Archit, no, this is something of a very new sort of proposal came out from the Oxloo side. A hybrid network ensures transparency in a form that the private network, which is creating blocks, push their particular blocks data, push their Merkle proof data into the public network. So what happens is that all your transactions and all your information, private data, remains in the private network. However, the Merkle proof gets pushed in the public network. So whenever you are going to do a transaction from one chain to another chain, you will take the route of the Oxloo public network. The Oxloo public network already have all the Merkle proof of anything your private network has ever done. Using that Merkle proof, the public network will able to verify that the information or the assets which you are trying to transfer from one chain to another is possible or not. Whether if the consensus is reached in the public network, then only the transaction will be able to go successfully live. I'll say another question from Risita. Contracts are confidential, but how does confidentiality/anonymity work in a distributed ledger? So if we see, Oxloo has applied an Enigma-based model for privacy-preserving smart contracts. So what happens in these cases, on a very layman speaking side, is that all the transactions and all the contracts that you are making goes live in a way that all the informations are encrypted. Then we introduce another protocol which allows users to communicate directly among peer-to-peer. It's a protocol which is something similar to the, you can say, JP Morgan's Quorum blockchain. They have introduced a constellation-based network protocol. So what these protocol aims to achieve is to create a direct peer-to-peer communication, so that the transaction initially is spent or is spread through the gossip protocol. Now all those receivers who have received some packet of encrypted information can ask directly the source that does this transaction belongs to me, does it effective to me, and the source will only give the decryption key to that particular user or to that particular node for which the information was meant to be. So however, in this distributed network, we see that all the information is being spread across different networks. However, the information in a readable form or the information in an executable form is only to the relevant parties and not with everyone. And I will say this is just one simple way to state this. If you will go through the white paper and read about the Enigma privacy contract of decentralization model, you will be able to understand this in a much better way. A question from Vaishali. Do you know if any organization has already started using blockchain, or is this only in ideation stage? So particularly talking about the Oxloo infrastructure, it has been currently in use with many state governments of India. We have onboarded more than 53 million population, and a lot of identity transactions and identity authentication in India passes through the Oxloo infrastructure. So I will say no. Blockchains has, for many use cases, leapfrogged the ideation stage, and actually right now in the execution stage without people knowing that a lot of their informations are today secure and processed through the blockchain network. We have our other implementation done with KPMG, IBM, HPE, Dialog, and a lot many enterprises who have some of these parts of the application for the KYC process, for the financial transaction payment, and a few other information went live in using the blockchain application process. I think we will have a last question here from Santu. How is the risk management done at Oxloo? Is this same as the blockchain technology, or this has a different technology used? Now, Shantu, I don't exactly mean in what terms of risk management you mean. Risk management, if we see from the technology infrastructure perspective, a risk management is something that how more secure and how fault tolerant your system is. And that's how the risk management is done. The blockchain, essentially, if we spoke into that nature, a blockchain essentially ensures that the different nodes which are running improves already the fault tolerance mechanism, and they ensure that their downside and their downtime is almost nullified. However, if we see from the fault tolerant mechanism of a particular node system, then it's I will say for the Ox laser and for the different blockchain, it's completely different. So how Ox laser is based on LLVM based compiler model, which is a low level of the programming language, which ensures that all your virtual machine is running in a very safe and in a very secure environment, as well as processing your information in multi-threads in a much efficient way. And that's how LLVM functions essentially. We are building Ox laser virtual machine, Oxviom, using this LLVM based machine to ensure that all the inherent capabilities of LLVM are already present in the Ox laser virtual machine, while we are enabling it with the defensive programming language, and we are enabling with another structured of the fault tolerant system to ensure that the system is more secure than ever. So guys, we will take a rest here, and I am very happy that you guys had such a fantastic question, and you guys were so active during the webinar. I really loved it. Please do give your feedback, subscribe to our website, read our white paper, and most importantly, join our Telegram, so you will be always be updated on what's going new with the Ox laser and where we are hitting up next. Thank you so much. Have a good day.